welcome everybody. It's Chester Elton and Adrian Gostick, the Culture Works live stream series. Always joined by the magnificent, the prolific, the intellectual giant of our partnership, Adrian Gostick. And it's also Adrian's birthday today. So happy birthday, Adrian.
Stop. Thank you.
Hey, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic that's gaining all kinds of momentum. This idea of quiet quitting. Now, Adrian has written a wonderful article for Forbes. If you're not following Adrian on Forbes, you should, about 5 ways to combat quiet quitting. But Adrian, just to lay the foundation here. So what is quiet quitting?
You know, this is such an interesting phenomenon because it's not like this is new, right? We've known people like who've done this for 30 years is they do the minimal amount to get by. And you know, in a way, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But it's not exactly, giving your best. It's not exactly the most engaged. But we've all known people like that, right? At 4 o'clock, they are out the door to get their, get the train or get the bus or whatever it is. And like I say, nothing wrong. They're doing their 40 hours a week, but nothing more. And I'm not going to take your calls on the weekend. I'm not going to answer your emails in the evening. Don't push me. Now, again, that doesn't sound like too bad a thing until you realize that, many of these people really aren't giving you all their best work while they're at work either.
Yeah, you say it's not a bad thing, but when you have quitting in the title, I think that kind of comes across as like a bad thing, right? Quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Like I say, doing the bare minimum. Now, you and I did a ton of interviews, and you and Tony in particular, with a lot of millennials and Gen Z about why this is kind of happening. And it's because they really feel like the contract or the compact between employer and employee has kind of been broken. And you cite in the article that the start of that was kind of 9/11.
Yeah, is that what they watch? So these are Gen Z coming in, the end of the millennials still, they're in their 20s or so. And what did they watch? They watched mom and dad go through a lot of insecurity in their careers. 9/11 happened, and what happened? Companies just started laying people off. 2008 financial crash. What happened? People got laid off again. Every time there's some sort of downturn, they're seeing companies that react by getting rid of the workers. And so as we started interviewing these young people, they went, we have seen this with mom and dad and our family members, and we feel we are these expendable workers. And so until the companies start showing me some level of commitment, I'm really reticent to give my all. And it was this really pervasive environment and attitude. And it's not just a couple of people. And by the way, they probably won't tell you about this, but they tell us because we're third-party researchers.
Right. We'll protect their names, right,
exactly.
from the authorities. It is really interesting. And first of all, I want to say, hey, bonjour to Gerard Norton. And those of you that are tuning in, we've got Mohammed from Saudi Arabia. Carol Ann is tuning in from Trinidad and Tobago. How wonderful. Welcome to the live stream. It was interesting, Adrian, as I started to read your article, and the thing that popped out at me was capitalism has failed us.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, capitalism has failed us. And yet I started to reflect, and I thought, my dad had a pension.
Mm-hmm.
He had security. I remember as a kid, unions were very engaged and involved.
Yeah.
My dad worked for the same company for over 40 years. There was stability. There was, again and again and again, right? Yeah. And now there's like nothing, right?
Exactly.
You are an at-will employee. How many times have we heard that? Yeah. By the way, I can fire you without cause. And somehow
and in many cases, you're a gig employee because I'm not even going to bring you on full time. I'm going to bring you on as a contractor, and I won't have to pay you benefits, et cetera. And so there's a lot of this. And younger people, this is what they talk about. They don't talk about it with us because we're oldies, and we may want to hire them one day, so they don't tell us about this.
Right.
But they talk to each other about this insecurity and just the unfairness, if you will. That and there are some real facts to this that. It's going to take a millennial much, much longer to buy their first house if they're even able. With inflation, et cetera, real wages won't, help you buy what you had in the past. The pensions are gone, all these things. You're exactly right. So, So what can you do about it? Well, the first thing is make sure your compensation is right now. That's the first thing to worry about is, have you matched inflation? Are you meeting market? And hopefully you are. And maybe you're saying, well, I don't have much control over that, but fight for what you can, right? That's the first thing you do is make sure you're on the field playing the right game here.
Yeah, you said you got to rethink work. Number one, you said we got to really rethink how we even think about work. So walk us through a couple of the suggestions. We've got 5 and we've only got 9 minutes to go. So let's hurry up.
Well, the first one was, remember we interviewed and we did quite a bit of work with Skanska USA, which is a big construction company. And we're working with the president of Skanska there. And he says, look, in my day, you were here 6 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Yep.
He says, if I want my people to work like that, I'll be here alone. He says, they just won't do it now. And so now this is a construction company. It's all project management. You're on the job. You don't get much construction done if you're not there. He says, but we do now flex time, job sharing. We do all these creative things to make sure our people have flexibility and that they're not chained to the desk like we were in the old days. That's really different. Now, if a construction company can do it, we all can do this, right?
The toughest guys. By the way, Andrew Novak from our 100 Coaches group, all the way from Paris. We're delighted to have you with us. I love, we've got Benjamin from Chile. We've got from KSA, where you and I both worked, Dr. Hunaida Day. And I love our international audience. Okay, so now we're rethinking work. So let's go to number 2 here.
Yeah.
Flexibility, right?
Well, it's helping people prioritize as number 2.
I was going to say, it's helping people prioritize.
The idea here, and we heard this in our interviews as we were writing Anxiety at Work, right? Is people say, I would kill to just have my boss meet with me once a week just to say, what you got on your plate this week, Chester? Oh, great. That probably can drop if you need, but these are the top priorities. Such a simple thing, meeting with me for a few minutes on a Monday morning to help me plan my week and to know, if you have 40 boxes on that's all your time you have on the truck. If something new gets put on, well, something has to come off. And we have to talk through that. You want to disengage people. Don't do that.
Right.
Let them figure things out on their own, right?
I love that horrible management phrase. Just figure it out. Yeah. Hey, boss, you've given me just figure it out.
Yeah,
I can't figure it out. I've got no more capacity. Yeah. And it is really interesting, that idea of let's prioritize. Now you jump into it, lean into good enough. Yeah. And I think this is really important. I think younger generations, and you and I saw this from our book, Anxiety at Work, everything has to be perfect. Yeah. Your digital life is perfect. Your work is perfect. You're always getting promoted. You're always getting raises. And this idea that, as leaders and managers, we've got to explain that sometimes just good enough is good enough, Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people are quiet quitting, is that they're just overwhelmed. And it's like, I'm not going to get this perfect. So I'm just going to do the bare minimum to get by, because there is this real penchant for perfectionism, especially in younger workers. And if you want to quell that, let them know that sometimes, this is good enough. This is an acceptable level of performance for this job, and it's okay. We tell the story in Anxiety at Work about my son Tony, when he went to work for a genetics lab. They put him alone in a because he knew what he was doing. He was extracting DNA from 10-year-old samples, and he was only getting 7 or 8 out of 10 to work, and he was getting more and more stressed as the week went on. And finally, on Friday, the boss came in and said, "Yeah, that's about right. 7 or 8 out of 10. Good work." And he was like, "Why didn't he tell me that at the beginning? I spent this whole week, sleepless, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I was so worried." Let people know what good enough looks like, and that's okay. Then they know where to stretch and where to go above and beyond.
Yeah. By the way, Sylvia has a great comment here. She says, "All the best, Adrian, on your birthday. We hope you're not in a phase of quiet quitting."
No, not with, I work with Chester Elton. How could I possibly be disengaged?
We go through priorities every week. I give him lots of flexibility. In fact, he's working on his birthday. I think that says it all. It's interesting too, when you talk about be the example yourself. Now, you talked about Skanska. The leader says, if I expect people to do that, I'm going to be here all alone. So it's so interesting that leaders, and we hear this all the time, "Oh, I don't expect my people to do it. I expect myself to do it." Well, yeah, the thing is, if you're there, they feel like they've got to be there. Yeah. So how important is it for the leader to say, hey, I'm not just saying this, I'm going to do it myself.
And we see this all the time, right? He's like, I send, yes, I send emails on the weekend, but my people know that's just how I work. They're not supposed to react till Monday. You send an email, Saturday afternoon. That's all your people are thinking about. You have just, sucked the air out of their weekend. What we find is the human mind not only needs time when it's not working, but when it's not thinking about work. You want your people to do their best work and to give you their full engagement, then let them have time. Because quiet quitting is basically saying, I need time for myself. I'm going to force this company to give me, time to myself. Well, we'll help them with that then. Because, this is a lot of people. The statistics we're seeing right now, Gallup is saying half of workers are quiet quitting. So this is a big deal. So we've got to be able to encourage our people to give their best while they're with us, and then give them time to recoup.
Yeah. By the way, welcome Andy from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I just like saying Kalamazoo. It's just like
a fun name.
Yeah. And my dear friend Patty Landez is tuning in. We spent some time together in Italy. She's a delightful educator. Well, as we wrap up, and it's no shock to me that you'd say, look, if you want people to know that you care about them, you lean into gratitude. And isn't it interesting that all the work you and I've been doing together for well over 20 years now, that common thread is amazing. That when I perform and somebody says thank you, my son Carter just sent me an article. It said, praise your employees even when they don't deserve it, and they'll do better. It was great, that even if they don't deserve it. So this idea of gratitude as kind of the cherry on top. So big finish, Adrian.
Well, and this is where, I quote Oprah in here because it's such a great quote where she says, look, I've done 30,000 interviews in my life, and every time that camera turns off, doesn't matter if it's, a president or a housewife or a hero or Beyonce and all her Beyonce-ness, she says, they always turn to me and say, was that okay? Did you get what you needed? And what are they looking for? She says, they're looking for validation. Now, one of the mistakes we make is that, people who need gratitude, their egos are weak, and, we have to pat them on the back. Poor souls. No. And especially with the younger generation, what we find is that gratitude helps them know that they're in the right path. In fact, we even heard, didn't we, from younger people that said, if you don't praise my work, I will try it a different way next time, because obviously I'm not doing it right. So incredibly unproductive. So we've got to learn. It's the simple low-hanging fruit. We've got to learn to do this and do it better.
Yeah. And Lauren Gall says, hey, I'm here. So Lauren, welcome.
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, we're doubling up today, by the way. I just want to give a quick plug. At 1:00 Eastern, we've got a wonderful guest on our Leading with Gratitude live show on LinkedIn. Joel Green. He's an ex-NBA basketball player that says he leans into failure. And so I hope you'll join us there. Well, we keep these to 15 minutes because we know you're all really, really busy, but we would encourage you to join our community at thecultureworks.ai. We're trying to create this safe place where you can talk about quiet quitting, where you can talk about anxiety at the workplace, and how flexibility helps you in your work and how to be more productive. So please join us at thecultureworks.ai. Adrian, I'm going to say it this time, and I'm going to mean it.
There's no way you're giving me the last word.
I'm going to give you the last word.
No way.
Wrap it up. If there's one thing you want people to remember, what would it be, Adrian?
Well, this is a tough time for people who are feeling a lot of insecurity. They're worrying about their futures. It's our job to care for those people in our care. To use more empathy than we've ever had, to be more compassionate and understand where they're coming from. You do that, you're going to start getting the best out of your people. It's going to be a slow process, but this is something that's probably the most important thing you're going to do in your career as a leader.
Excellent. And you're right. I am going to wrap up saying, hey, thanks for joining us. Tune in again soon. And by the way, if you're looking for great speakers, virtual or in person, Adrian and I love to coach executives. We love to speak live. Get in touch with us through LinkedIn or at thecultureworks.com. The community is thecultureworks.ai. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everybody.
That was the last.